Hey everyone, this is Don from the Sci-Fi We're going to take a quick look at the new indie game, Crater Maker. Let's take a quick look at the controls, and I highly recommend that you use a gamepad for this game. In this one particular case, it is superior to the mouse and keyboard in my opinion. I think you'll find it much easier to play that way. Let's take a quick look at the first scenario. Actually, we're going to play through this first scenario in its entirety because it's relatively short and it'll give you a good idea of what to expect from the game. There are currently only 3 scenarios total, but there are a couple of other modes in the game. One is the challenge mode and the other is the retro mode, and we'll look at both of those here in a moment. This game is currently in an alpha state, and that becomes fairly clear later on, especially when you play something like the challenge mode, where you could really use some sort of indicator to let you know where the next landing pad is. You don't get enough fuel to really go searching around for the next landing pad, or even the next planet for that matter. Trust me, this does become a problem, and it becomes a bit more of a game of trial and error and luck than just skill, because the planets are procedurally generated and placed, so you never really know what you're going to get. That's the great thing about the game, but again, you need to know where you're going, or you're just wasting fuel in space. And I do hope you like the music, by the way, because currently there is no way to turn it off. Still, I do have to say I very much like the feel of this game. If you ever played the old lunar landers or any iteration thereof, and you like the feel, the whole floaty feel and the fuel management aspect of it, then you'll probably like the feel of this game as well. The only difference now, of course, is that you're dealing with 3 dimensions. What you're seeing here is currently the extent of any sort of plot or narrative. It's definitely a game you get for the gameplay itself and not much else. Now let's take a quick look at the beginning of the second scenario. This mission really isn't that different from the first mission. The only difference is that you have a number of planets between you and the planet that you need to get to, but that can significantly change the gameplay depending on how you approach it. In the third scenario, and particularly in the challenge mode, gameplay changes pretty drastically. You need to manage your fuel better and make landings on certain planets to be able to get more fuel. There's only 1 landing pad per planet and 2 types of landing pads. This is an example of a landing pad that gives you more fuel, although only just a little bit. The other type of landing pad just completes an objective. The thing to keep in mind is that the rocky planets only seem to have refueling pads, whereas lush planets like this can have either type. Now let's take a look at the challenge mode. I would say that this is currently the meat of the game. When you start off, you have to land on 1 planet. After you complete that, you have to land on 2. Then 3, and so on. It can get pretty complicated and tough to manage your fuel, but it's a lot of fun and it's a good challenge. As I said previously though, once you start getting more than about 2 planets that you have to land on, you really could use some visual aids to figure out where you need to go next. When the procedural engine is on your side though, it can be a lot of fun planning your next move. Unfortunately, terrain generation is broken at some points. In this particular case, it's a combination of a terrain generation anomaly and pilot error, but I have had some occasions where the launch pad is entirely covered with the planet's surface, making it impossible to complete the mission. Once again, I remind you that this is an alpha, and I'm hoping that this will be fixed. Now we'll take a look at the retro mode. This is the mode I was kind of looking forward to the most. I have a lot of nostalgia where the whole lunar lander games are concerned. Unfortunately, this mode is the most broken of all, and I think currently unplayable. You have no idea where the landing pad is, and unfortunately you can't fly around slowly looking for it or you'll run out of fuel. This means you have to fly pretty quickly, and there are many obstacles in the way that you get no forewarning about, which often leads to this. Overall, I'm really enjoying the gameplay of Crater Maker, and I look forward to seeing the game in a more complete state. This has been Don from the Sci-Fi Thanks for watching.